Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today, I want to talk to you about textbook comprehension. So, what is textbook comprehension? Basically, textbook comprehension is the way we understand text, how we comprehend text. Textbook, of course, are the books that you may use in class. These can be your main books that deal with your disciplines, or these can be books that you are using to supplement. I have a few examples here from just different levels. So, let's just say you're using an encyclopedia in class. This is not a paid promotion, but these are books that I have here at the Classroom Connection that I used to help children and their understanding and adults in some of their reading in their classes. So you have a book here. This one is an encyclopedia. It's about different types of animals, and then you can read and it tell you about different animals, insects that you may want to learn about. For example, with this text here, you can see with textbook comprehension, there are pictures, there are bolded letters, there are shaded purple letters. There are things here that are important to a student to learn. Let's give another example. This would be a child's dictionary. Sometimes it's great when we say, go look it up in the dictionary, and most of the time they do it online, right? But sometimes when they grab the dictionary, they may not necessarily know how to use the dictionary. How many times as teachers, instructors, we have run into, I don't know how to use a dictionary, I don't know, and we've shown them, and maybe they can find the word and they make it to that area, but textbook comprehension says, let's look at the text, let's look at the sentence structure, let's look at some of the um, frameworks that they have already set up in the textbook to help move our learning along. Let's look at this one. So this is an first dictionary, a first dictionary book. What do we have here? We have some words, we have pictures. I'm sorry if this is not focusing well. We have some words in red, we have some words in purple. So something your students would benefit from is you taking the time to look at the dictionary with them or encyclopedia or text and explaining what do some of these things mean? What do they do? Why are they shaded purple? Purple are just versions of tenses of the word, perhaps. Red could be the exact word that they need to look up, which are base words. But the pictures sometimes come along and they give us an example of what's happening. So it's always good to say, what's on your page? What are you focusing on? What can we see that's a little bit different? It isn't just a blank page. And most of the time, it isn't just black and white pages anymore. Many schools are really into the magazine style books. And because they're into the magazine style books, let's see, I'll give you an example. This is a class that I taught for college. It was sort of like a world religions class. This was a great book. It was a great resource as far as giving you an overview of what that topic might be about. Looking at this book here, and you could see some of my highlights, but you see pictures. You see over here on this side, there's some black bold, there's some purple bold. So when you look at the textbook, you would think, okay, my student's going to know what everything means and they're going to look at the pictures to find meaning. Sometimes they have to be guided into that, even in college classes. Sometimes you have to, with a struggling reader, open up the book and say, what do you see? We see something here in bold text. What do you think they're getting ready to talk about in that area? Does this picture or little saying bring meaning to the words around it? Does the picture give you insight of what they're talking about? So having some real good textbook comprehension can help further your students along. It will help them if they're struggling with their learning. It's going to help them if they're trying to come up with ways to understand what they're reading. Textbook comprehension and looking at the pages are going to provide some really good comprehension. Let's see. So going back to this book, we see that we come up with ways of studying religion. So they're going to learn about the different ways of studying religion. And we also see that that's in big black letters. Okay, those are headlines and they're in big black letters. So that's important for them if they want to answer a question or find a section on a question that might say, what are some ways that we know we can study religion? You know, we can read, we can visit institutions, we can practice some of the concepts. However, you also want to look at the subheadings. These are in red, okay? So some of these are in red. That helps you in different areas of understanding here are some subtopics that can happen, things that might help you pinpoint a question. We also know that red provides some definitions, defining the word religion. So this is the magazine style. These are the pretty books that have the great pictures, the great text. You're going to find different things inside the nice books to help you kind of keep your reader interested, right? So that's kind of for higher education. The other two were for like, K-6, whatever. And so if you're supplementing, let's say you're a homeschool parent and you're supplementing and you want to find text that might work, a lot of the text, this is McGraw-Hill, a lot of the texts come in this font format, barely any color, but you may get a few pictures with color on it. But you also can see in the bolded blue, it's kind of a purple, you have your headlines of sections you need to complete, reading and thinking, learning to study. Over here in the columns, you have numbered columns to help it be easier for your student to find out what paragraph they're reading, what numbers they're reading. The pictures help you come along and figure out what's happening within the story to add deeper understanding to your learner. So these are all really good examples. The highlighting, some things may be bolded, some things may be color coded, and you have pictures to help you along. So I want to share with you this resource that one of my students, as I was TAing in a class, this is called Textbook Comprehension. This one was done by a girl named Nicole Rumbold, and she is a student at Concordia University, Chicago, just like I am. She's a graduate student. I'm in a doctoral program. She's getting her master's. And she shared a textbook comprehension reading from Hinchman that she was summarizing into this wonderful infographic. So I wanted to share this with you. And this infographic here is called Textbook Comprehension Assisting Struggling Readers. So I thought she did a really good job. So something I wanted to really focus on were just highlighting some of the information that she shared. Why teach textbook comprehension? So why is this important that we show our students how to use a textbook? Maybe we want to make sure they understand what they're supposed to find when they're at home. How many times have your children or your students or someone maybe you're tutoring have no idea where they get their information from? Perhaps we need to really look at struggling readers with textbook comprehension. Here's their resource, their textbook. How can we use their resource to their advantage and they be able to understand what they're reading when we're not around to guide them along, right? We want to give them some independence in their learning. So just an overview of this infographic here. Why teach textbook comprehension? It gives students an easy reference for tasks and assignments. It's an efficient source of information. So these textbooks are created with structure in mind. Many of them follow patterns. You're going to read the story, you're going to answer questions, you're going to find a picture to help, you're going to think about the story, things like this. These are kind of natural within textbooks. Here's some vocabulary words before you read the story, so you understand the vocabulary. Here's some bolded words inside the story, so you understand, oh, that word's coming up. I know what it means now because I studied the vocabulary. Here are some headlines or more questions to provide further meaning and understanding. So there is something to textbook comprehension that I don't want to get away from us. It isn't just, here's your book, like share it. First day of school where we hand the books, these are your books, be sure to bring them to class. There's something about each chapter taking time to make sure students know where everything is and know what's coming next. And I think you'll find it really advantageous to them and to you as the teacher to really be able to let them have that independent practice. You've guided them along, now they can find their sections and to do some practices in this. This will help with maybe the homework coming home. This will also help with them understanding what comes next, sequencing their information, what they're looking for. Many times the questions in the books come sequenced one after another as they have read along. And sometimes as they get older, it's more broader, it's more comprehensive. You're thinking, what is the bigger picture? How can they answer this from all the information that they've read, right, in high school and maybe community college and college? You are kind of filling yourself with information, and these headlines will help you categorize that information. So it's important to pay attention. It gives an overview and a summary, and of course, these are standard requirements to be able to read sophisticated and complex text independently. So if we want them to do it independently, it's a really good idea that we share with them the tools of how to do that, how to find certain areas of that textbook that's going to help them. Not just here's the title of the pages where they're at, here's the glossary, look it up. It's not something that we want to do that way if they're struggling. We really want to take time to say, let's figure out what each chapter is doing. What do they have? They have vocabulary, they have reading, then they have pictures, then they have questions. And every chapter may follow that sequence. So continuing on, we have struggles are struggles are socially constructed by how students, how schools are organized, assumptions made about home life and school ability. So you may think they can handle it, they have resources, someone's there at home to help them. That may not be the case of why they're struggling. Maybe no one is there to help them. If you have a student that is English language learner, they may not even necessarily be able to read the text. So being able to break down the text for them and help them find different places and understand this is where we're getting our information from. This is how we're answering the questions by looking in these separate sections may help them and help you while you are doing that one-on-one tutoring or while you're doing a overview of the lesson. Let's see, the text may be just too difficult for them. So these are ways for you to understand, are they not even getting the reading portion, but they don't even understand that these are headlines or this is the chapter we're in. I know I've taught class and there have been students that have struggled to find the chapter and page number. And sometimes it may seem a little silly and think you can't find the page number, but to that child, it's probably not silly. It's probably a little bit intimidating for them to still be flipping through the pages and looking and not understanding. Many students who struggle are often proficient with some other literacies, such as technology and maybe reading the graphic magazines and the books that are out there right now with the comics within them. They maybe enjoy that. They can see the pictures. It's helping them move along with the story a little bit better. And when it comes to a text, sometimes textbooks can be big and chunky and intimidating, and they're not necessarily sure how they feel about the text. Let's see, struggling readers need often explicit instruction. So this is you going on and saying, this is how we use this. Now let's find the next one. Okay, we learned that. Let's see if that answers a question. Well-structured text. So you do need to pick texts that are really going to support them and be well-structured. If you have a big, intimidating textbook, sometimes maybe you need to not necessarily give the big textbook, but photocopy some of the pages from the textbook to maybe the 3 pages that you're using just for that lesson. How much of an ease would your student be at instead of giving them the whole chunky textbook for the whole year? If you just photocopied this week's lessons or today's lessons for them to make them feel that they're being more accomplished, this is something they're able to handle, so it's less intimidating. So areas in how teachers can improve, select considerate text, use rubrics to help or guided questions to help students understand what they're reading. Embed comprehension instruction by teaching the kinds of texts. We talked about several kinds that are out there, not just textbooks, but supplemental books. You're doing additional reading stories to just learn background knowledge, or you're using encyclopedias or dictionaries. Those are also things that can help. Let's see, just reading a few more. Show students how to use text features to find important information. We talked about that. And you want to get to that gradual release. I do, let's do it. Let's see me do it, then let's see you do it, and then you do it on your own. Okay, so it's I do, we do together, and then you do. And with that model, you can see that independence kind of grow with them. And then perhaps the homework assignments or the independent working in class assignments will go a lot better for them and at ease. And you'll be able to recognize those that seem to be struggling as you walk through the room and walk around the classroom. You'll see, okay, some of these students are getting it, they're answering the questions, they're moving forward. But Sally over here or Jimmy over there are still on the first question and they're kind of glancing at the whole page pretending to read fast and get through it, but you understand and see by their answers or lack of answers that there's a disconnect there. They may not be understanding. So taking time with them aside at a recess time or before after school, just help them understand a few questions together. Maybe you could answer those together, the first 2 or 3, and leave them, if there's 5 questions they need to answer, leave them with the last 3 questions to really, build their confidence and help move them along. So the last thing I want to talk about is the instruction that you can do. Sorry about that. Name the strategy if you're using a specific strategy. So 2 strategies that I really like are SQ3R and Pillar. Pillar really is used for the upper grades, but they both do the same thing. They look at the headlines, they basically review and they retell, and they make you kind of examine your text and reread it and then retell it. And then you're looking at the text and you're previewing it. So Pillar and SQ3R are good ones, strategies to use. You may find others that are effective out there. Explain why the text is important and when it's useful. Explain the steps in the strategies that you're using. Think aloud by demonstrating the strategy. Sometimes teaching is a lot of just modeling, you doing everything bigger and exaggerating so they pay attention, and you helping them and guiding them, and eventually you reach that independent practice. So I hope you found this very interesting and something that you feel like you're able to do and with your learners. I also wanted to take time to let you know that I will add this to the Classroom Connection YouTube page and online. Thank you.